All right, how's it going, everyone? Today's video I'm going to do a demonstration of the speaker systems on the Walthers Proto GP35s, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a speaker upgrade option that you can certainly employ. I'm going to do a quick sound demonstration, and I will show you how to swap out a speaker on the GP35. So you can see I have two Walthers Proto GP35s. In late March of 2024, they released a new run of GP35s. I picked up one, and the road number on that unit is 628. That is on the left side of your screen here. Walthers also produced a run of these back in about 2018, I believe it was, and I got one road number at that time, and that's 637 on the right side of your screen. The 2018 run came standard with DCC and sound, and at that time that was an old Tsunami 1 decoder, and certainly if you've been around the hobby long enough, you know that coders continue to evolve. The Tsunami 1 is pretty limited in what it was able to do. Nevertheless, that's what this locomotive was. I didn't really do a whole lot of anything. I ran it stock out of the package with some CV modifications. The new release here in 2024, Walthers upgraded all of these locomotives to Loc-Sound 5 DCC decoders. So I ended up, and I did not do a video of this, for the 2018 release earlier this week, I ended up removing the factory Tsunami 1 decoder. I put a Nix Trains motherboard in, or DCC board, and I installed a Loc-Sound 5 decoder. But on top of that, I also installed a scale sound system speaker, and I have these speakers in several of my locomotives. And before I swap out the speaker on the current run, the 2024 run, I wanted to do a sound demonstration, really sort of demonstrate the difference between the sound you get out of a stock speaker from a lot of these manufacturers versus getting a high-end, high-quality speaker to upgrade your units with. So I'm going to do a quick sound test here, and then I will come back and actually show you how to swap out the speaker. Okay, I'm going to start with locomotive 628. This is the 2024 release, so it has a Loc-Sound 5, has a stock speaker. I'm going to run through, before I fire up the prime mover, I'm going to do like the bell and the horn, compare it to the new locomotive, and I'll go back and do a startup sequence and then run it up into notch 8 so you can hear the differences between the two speakers. Just for quote-unquote scientific purposes, I'm putting the locomotives in the exact same position. I'm not moving the camera. Both of these locomotives have a Loc-Sound 5 decoder. They are programmed identically. I did that intentionally, number one, to give a good sound test here, but number two, to allow me to run these two units in consist without having any challenges. So the sound value is the same for both of them. The functions are the same for both of them. The only difference between these two locomotives is the speaker. The other unit has the scale sound system speaker in it, and the road numbers are different. So let's go ahead and enjoy. Okay, I hope you appreciated the differences in the sound. It's pretty remarkable, the sound difference between a stock speaker and a scale sound speaker. So I'm actually going to show you. So this is the scale sound speaker that I wanted to show you. The nice thing about what this company does is they produce speakers specific for locomotives. So after I get the shell off of this locomotive, you're going to see this fits perfectly into an enclosure that's in the frame of the locomotive. This is the stock speaker that came out of the 2018 release that I swapped out earlier this week. So this is what was in there, and this is what we're going to put in there, the scale sound system speaker. So pretty remarkable difference. I know there's a lot of other aftermarket speakers you can get. The thing I really like about the scale sound systems is again, these are designed specifically for locomotives. If you go to their website and you order a speaker, you have to make sure that you're selecting the correct manufacturer and model. So this one is specific for Walthers Proto GP35. They offer it for all the major manufacturers: Ather and Bowser, Atlas, Walthers, Intermountain. So you can pretty much find anything you need as long as it's fairly recent run and not a specialty manufacturer. So generally speaking, it's not too difficult or too challenging to swap out a speaker. You just have to have the correct tools, and most of these tools you should probably already have. If you're a serious modeler, you should have these on your workbench already. If not, you can get them easily through Amazon, or if not, your local hobby store should sell most of this equipment. You're going to need a soldering iron, some solder. This particular one, there's 2 leads on it, and you can see, hopefully, there's this one is marked red, so you can figure out which side is the anode, which side is the cathode. So I'm going to need my soldering iron, some solder. I'm going to use, and I'm assuming it's going to be this way. I don't have the shell off the locomotive yet, that there should be a 1mm connecting coupler or connecting wire connector. So I should just be able to wire my 2 leads to this that has a 1mm male port on it, and I should just be able to plug it directly into the board. But once we get the shell off, we'll be able to know what we're dealing with. I'm going to get my small screwdrivers, and really that's about all you need: your soldering iron, some wire clippers, your solder, screwdrivers, and I'm going to use a little bit of Kapton tape. It's a high heat resistance tape to make sure that everything stays in place. So let's go ahead and get the shell off this locomotive. All right, we're ready to go ahead and pop the shell off of 628 here. A couple things I'd recommend. It's not a huge deal. If you can get one of these foam engine cradles, I would recommend to get one, particularly when you're going to take the shell off. I'm also going to put in the handrail stanchion protections that come with the original packaging. So I'm just going to drop these in. When you're taking this stuff off, you have to be super careful, particularly on these highly detailed locomotives. Got these lift rings we're going to have to deal with. Obviously the horn, the antenna, sunshades, the handrails, there's grab irons. You just have to be real careful not to mess anything up. So the first thing I'm going to do, and just because I don't want to mess up my model, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to shut the camera off so I can get a good angle on it, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring it back. First thing, we got to take both couplers out. Sort of get zoomed in here. There's a coupler box that's just held by a small Phillips head screw, one on the front, one on the back. There's also a plastic cover for the fuel tank, Phillips head screw. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these 3 screws out. When you take the screws out of the coupler box, the coupler, just gently take your thumb and finger, pull it straight out. So these 2 screws actually hold the shell to the frame as well, so that's why we have to take those off. And then underneath the fuel tank cover, there's 2 additional screws holding the shell on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back, and I'll show you next steps. All right, I got the couplers off. Other nice thing about, I'll slide this forward here a little bit. Other nice thing about these engine cradles, so I just have all the parts and pieces up here in order. Here's a rear coupler, here's front coupler, rear screw, front screw. Here is the fuel tank cover. Here's the screw for the fuel tank cover. So you can see couplers are gone, fuel tank cover is gone. Next step, and these 2 screws are by the front trucks here. Grab my pointing device. So you have screw here and here we need to pull out. Be super careful. Here is, I know it's hard to see, right here is the bell. Just have to be real careful of that. That's, you know, again, one of those separately attached items you just have to be careful of. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these two screws out, and then I'll show you how to gently slide the shell off the frame. Okay, those are released. So really, there's no super trick to getting the frame off. I usually find something sturdy to hold on to. The fuel tank is something good. This is a lead weight. It's usually attached pretty well. Boy, this one is not even going to fight me. When I took it off, the shell off of the other locomotive, it fought me something fierce. This one just slid right off like a glove. That's awesome. So as I suspected, let me get the camera adjusted here. As I suspected, this is kind of cool. It's actually really cool. On the 2018 release, it was a direct drive board. Actually, I could probably pull it out and show it to you. So this one, obviously you can see this is a 21 pin decoder sitting on the DCC board. So cool. I put a 21 pin decoder in the other one, so this actually really works out. There's a little bit of difference with the lighting. I am a little bit surprised. They did do a little bit better job on the 2018 version. The rear light actually had an LED bulb and then just some small little bulb. So like right here, this is what was on the back for the ditch lights. So pretty much the same. They did do a little bit of modification to these locomotives. So the speaker actually sits right here inside this box. So this is a lead weight. You can see there's two screws in here, and there's a little bit of black electrical tape holding these wires onto the top. So I'm going to gently pull this tape off, not mess with the wires, take these two screws out, and I'll be able to expose the speaker. So then this whole cover assembly just slides right off. And actually we're not going to put this back on because of the size of the scale sum decoder. So there you can see the speaker. It's real close to that drive gear. Trying to see where the wires go. That is the other thing that I did suspect. So these are just 1mm plugs. Now the key is to find which one goes to the speaker. And I don't really see the wires coming off here yet, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. One of the things you can do is gently just pull one of these out. The board should be marked with like an SPK. And did I get the right one? Nope, that one is the motor. So we better plug that one back in. Let's see what this one is. This one is the truck, so we're 0 for 2. So one of these is going to be the truck on this side, one will be the speaker. I'm guessing this is probably the truck. The other truck, we'll find out. This is, yep, other truck, should have known better. So on the 4th attempt, this one better be the speaker. And it is. You can hopefully see that SPK. So I'm just going to gently follow these wires. Okay, so the wires do come right out the top of the frame there, which is good to know. So, and I had to do this on my other locomotive too. I'm just going to go ahead and take my wire cutters and cut the plug-in off. I'm not going to use the speaker again, or if I do, I can rewire that up. So I'm going to get my wire cutters, cut that off, and then I'm just going to gently This speaker should just kind of pop right out gently. Be real careful with your gears. See, that just slides right out. Just kind of up and over. Oh, I guess I don't even need to cut it. There's a full latch in there. So perfect. Perfect, perfect. So here's your speaker. Set that offside. I'll put that back in the box. And then here is your empty frame where your new speaker is going to go. All right, so I'm not gonna do anything crazy just yet, but here's your speaker. So you can see it's sort of circular in there. This is about a half moon. You can see there's no connection points. So what I'm gonna do at this point, when I say connection points, I mean to connect it to the frame. So I'm just gonna sort of sight this in here. Again, fits without any assistant, it fits snug. I've got good clearance for my gear there. But what I'm gonna do, since I still have to solder my two leads on here, I'm gonna put a piece of double-sided Kapton tape on the back side of this to hold it to the back part of the frame. And I'm gonna retape the wires to hold this into place. And when it's all said and done, this speaker's not gonna go anywhere. It fits pretty snug, but I'm just gonna double secure it to make sure that it definitely does not go anywhere. So I'm gonna get my soldering iron on, I'm gonna get my tape out, and we'll get this thing installed and test it out. All right, so I talked about this in one of my other videos. These are just 1mm 2-wire plugs. Got them off Amazon. I think I got a 50 pack for $4 or $5. So here's my plug. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna tin the ends of these real quick here. Here's my speaker. I'm gonna go ahead, connect the red wire to the red, the black to the end mark side, and we'll go ahead and get this installed in the locomotive. One thing you do notice here, to be able to solder this, I had a little, shouldn't say a ton of trouble, I had a little bit of trouble. It just doesn't sit flat. So again, where the engine cradle comes in handy, I'll just put this on here. It's not gonna roll anywhere. Just be careful so you don't melt your styrofoam cradle. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these tinned up, get this soldered on here, and then we'll go forth the next steps. Okay, that didn't take long at all. Got a good solder on here, both my wires. There's my plug. We're ready to install this. What I'm gonna do, and I did this off camera because this unfortunately is the longest part of the entire project. Double-sided Kapton tape has actually a clear protector on one side. It's not easy to get it off, so that fought me probably more than anything. So I'm just gonna put this on here, and I've got my, actually it fits pretty well. I was gonna say I can trim it off with my shop knife. So I got that piece of tape on there. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the locomotive. Again, we're just gonna get this in here. It fits snug to begin with, but just make sure, I'm gonna push it kind of hard. Make sure I get a good seal. That tape, let that set up. Again, just double check your drive gear. Make sure there's nothing hitting. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna snake these wires up, and I'm gonna do this off camera. I'm gonna tuck them in under here, and I have single-sided Kapton tape that I'm gonna rewrap this with. We'll go ahead and get this end plugged in, and we're good to put the top back on. Okay, that went super well. So you can see I got it plugged in here to the speaker. Got my wires all tucked in here. I did end up leaving that black electrical tape on there only because a lot of the other wires were already connected to it. I didn't really want to disturb it. But you can see I ran a couple pieces of Kapton tape. See, it runs on both sides there. So at this point, you can do one of two things. You can test it out, and I would recommend you doing that before you put the shell back on. Make sure you didn't get any wires pinched or anything like that. Make sure that electrical connection works. Or if you're confident that you are good to go, we'll go ahead and put the shell back on. Do everything in reverse order of what you did it before. So it came off easily. I'm hoping this thing goes back on easily. You know, again, just be real gentle. Don't force anything. And typically, once you get it seated, it'll just sort of slide right back on, just like that. One thing I did learn with the other locomotive, be real careful. Real careful. There is not much clearance where that bell is. So just gently push that on there. It slid right back into place. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these two screws back in. I'm going to put the coupler boxes back on. I'm going to show you a little trick with coupler boxes, but I'm going to get these two screws back in. Whoops, sorry. Get these two screws back in, get the fuel tank back on, and I'll show you a trick. You have to be real careful. These cut levers need to be watched carefully when you put the shell back on, or I mean, sorry, the couplers back on. So I'm going to get that squared away, and then we'll do a quick test run and we'll be all done. All right, I got the fuel tank back on, secured in place, those two frame screws reattached. Next thing I'm going to do is put the couplers on, and this might be a little bit tricky. So basically, if the coupler box comes apart when you change the camera to focus here, when you take it out, there's just a bottom piece, there's a spring inside there, coupler just sits nice and flush within there. So just make sure this is reassembled, and there are latches or little sort of indents. This fits on here snugly. So as it's put together in one piece, you're going to want to just gently slide it into the front frame of the locomotive. Now, where you have to be real careful, so you can see, if I do a side view here, this top flange of the coupler box actually is going to, it won't clear that coupler cut lever. So what I'm going to do is I have just a small flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to just very, very, very gently just sort of lift this cut lever up, and while I'm doing that, just gently give the coupler a push till I get it clear past the cut lever and we don't have any issues. So I'm going to do this off camera so I don't mess it up, but that's the trick to this. You do have to lift this cut lever up to get it past that indent on the coupler box. Okay, I got the couplers repositioned here, and last thing I got to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put those two screws in. I'm going to get that done real quick, and we'll go ahead and do a quick test run, and we'll conclude the video.